Başladık.
Zaten şurada link çıkar.
Tabii ki topluyor. Or you can check from there.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum. Mahmoud. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can anybody tell us the can anybody tell us names of Arab land in Africa? Can anybody tell us? Can you tell us the names of Arab land in Africa?
I'm not in your class.
Okay. Adiza. Even this one is not in my class. She's not in my class. Sani said it's not in my class. All my class students are not participating.
No one used to.
None of them is.
None of them.
For this one.
None of them used to.
Abdulaziz. Oh, this was okay. I have only one. Very nice. I will do.
Hududi mi olur? 925 170.
Şu an ne oluyor? 925 True, it's okay. How many classes per day? Just 6. Then,
You must.
I don't know.
Bir geçen birini.
This one is not. She said it. She's not in my class. Sani is not in my class as well.
what?
Now, Maria only two. Now, Maria Moronade and this Rahima Salahuddin.
Whose class? Maybe Mr. Man?
Mr. I don't know, in girls' school. I don't know.
So anyway, this SS2.
SS2, SS2.
You know nothing at all.
All right. Maria Moronade. Mariam Ololai.
Sir?
Yeah, can you tell me names of Arab countries in Africa? In Africa. Okay, let me generalize it. Tell me names of Arab countries. You said?
Can't hear you.
Names of Arab lands, Arab countries. The one you can mention. Arab countries.
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia. Rahima Salahuddin. Can you tell me names of Arab land in the one you can mention? Arab lands. Arab countries.
Egypt.
Egypt, that is in Africa.
Yeah.
Okay. Zainab Abdurrahim. Zainab.
Sir?
Yeah, can you tell me names of Arab country? Like either in Africa or Asia.
So I don't know.
You don't know any in Africa. We have Egypt, we have Morocco, we have Tunisia. All these are in Africa. Then we have Saudi Arabia, we have Jordan, and so on. So all these are some of the Arab countries. So today we want to look at the early contact of Islam in Africa and other West or North Africa, and as well as West Africa and North Africa. So if you look at this map, the map you can see here represents how Islam got spread all over the world. From Arabian land, from Medina. This is Medina, and this is Mecca. So this part represents the path Islam reached during the time of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, from the year 622 to 632. This portion represents the places Islam reached during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. Then from here, Islam got spread across Arab land, across the sea. You can see this up to Africa here, Tripoli, in this is Egypt, this is Morocco, this is Morocco, that is in the northern part of Africa. So from northern part of Africa, Islam came to the West Africa, another part of Africa as well. So let's look at the spread, how Islam got spread, the first contact of Islam, the early contact of Islam with Africa, especially Egypt, North Africa, and West Africa. I hope this has been taken. The first hijrah to Abyssinia and the circumstances that led to the migration of the early Muslims. Islam had reached Africa in the 5th year of Prophet Muhammad's mission, when the persecution of Muslims in Mecca had become unbearable. By that, the Prophet ﷺ proposed for their own safety that those who are vulnerable to persecution should seek refuge in Abyssinia. Abyssinia, today known as Ethiopia in Africa. Immediately, one crosses the Red Sea from Arab land, you could cross to Sudan. A part of it, you have, besides Sudan, you have Ethiopia. Across the Red Sea, where there was said to be a righteous Christian king who would protect them until the situation at home improved in the year 619 CE. At the advent of Islam, or at the beginning of Islam, Muslims, those who accepted Islam, majorly we have the weak ones, people that have no say in Arab land, were the people that accepted Islam at the early stage. So in view of this, most of them were faced with different persecutions, different punishments. Many of them were stabbed to death. Many of them were beaten to death as a result of their accepting Islam. The Prophet ﷺ was with them in Mecca, but incapacitated. He cannot stop them to be persecuted because of their small number, the small number of Muslims, those who have accepted Islam, and their ability, their power. They are not large, and as well, they are the weak among the weak ones. The noble, those who were noble Arabs, they refused to accept Islam then. So based on this, the Prophet ﷺ suggested that the Muslims, those who were prone or were vulnerable to persecution, to seek refuge in a place called Abyssinia in Africa, under a king called King Negos. The Arabic name of this king was Najashi. So this king was a Christian, and Prophet ﷺ believed that this king will protect the Muslim, or they will be protected under his kingdom. By that, he advised them, these Muslims that were being persecuted. According to history, the first batch that migrated to Africa, or to Abyssinia, there were about 20 or 19 men and a few number of women, maybe 5 or 10 of them that migrated to Abyssinia. The mission of the two envoys to the Lagos. When the Arab, that is the Quraysh, heard that some of the Muslims were migrating to Abyssinia, the migration of the Muslims raised the concern of the Quraysh. On learning that the Muslims had sought refuge, they sent two envoys loaded with gift items to the Lagos and this king of Abyssinia and his courtiers, that is his court members, his chiefs. They informed the king that the Muslims who had sought refuge with them with him were following an invented religion and asked for them to be sent back for the people to deal with them, so that they can deal with them on their own. But the king was a very wise man. He didn't just accept the request of the Meccans. The migrants were brought to the court of Najashi, that is King Negos, who asked them the reason for their migration to his land. Jafar bin Abi Talib, Jafar, the brother to Ali bin Abi Talib, was the one that spoke on behalf of these Muslims. In his speech, he described the Meccans as barbaric people who worshipped idols and waged war against each other. Allah then raised a prophet to them to purify them. The Negus was convinced and allowed Muslims to stay. So the stay of Muslims in Abyssinia was peaceful. The stay in Abyssinia was very peaceful. This is a video. I'm going to play it so that you can see how the Muslims this is Abyssinia. Now this is the delegates sent by the Quraysh. His name was Amr ibn al-As. Amr ibn al-As was known by the king. So he was the one sent with gifts. You can see the king. You can see the king.
هل استرحت من عناء الرحلة؟ كيف لا وخاصة في حضرتك؟ شئت تاجرا أم مهاجرا يا عم؟
The king was asking the envoy what actually brought him.
إذا لم تدخل في دينهم. لو كنت مفارقا دين قومي لفرقته لدينكم أيها الملك. ولكن هؤلاء غلمان فارقوا دين قومهم ولم يدخلوا في دينكم.
Amr ibn al-As also later accepted Islam. He was one of the people that
لتعجبه ميلي بعثني إليك أشرف قومهم من آبائهم
Mm. Okay. Yeah. Hello, Rahima. Rahima, do you have a question before I move on?
Sir?
Do you have a question before I move on?
No, sir.
Okay. Can you tell us where I stopped?
Sir?
Can you tell us where I stopped?
You were explaining how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam moved his people to Abyssinia, and you were telling us some videos.
Okay. Did you see the video?
Sir?
Were you able to watch the video?
Sir?
Okay. What is the name of the person that explained the reason why they left Arabia? Zainab? Hello, Zainab. Yasira. Yasira. Are you there?
Mr. Brother, can you write me?
Can you hear me?
Sir?
Okay. So, Rahima, I said, what is the name of the person that explained the reason for coming to Abyssinia?
Sir?
What is the name? What is the name of that man that explained how the reason for coming of the Muslims to
Sir?
Abyssinia? The man that explained. I mentioned a name.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I said, what is the name? of the man that explained the reason for coming to Abyssinia? Okay, the man was Amr ibn al-As, Jafar ibn Abi Talib. Jafar ibn Abi Talib was the one that defended the Muslims, while Amr ibn al-As was the man that was sent by the Arabs. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right, can we move on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Islam got to North Africa from Abyssinia. Then let's look at Islam in North Africa. North Africa had reached trade contracts with Arabia long before the advent of Islam as traders. As traders visited North Africa to bring their merchandise. Amr ibn al-As was one of the frequent visitors to the north. You know, if you remember, I said Amr ibn al-As was the one that was sent by the Arabs to the king in order to repatriate the Muslims that went to Abyssinia to seek for refuge. But he too later accepted Islam and became one of the warriors. So as a businessman and a warrior, he had been contacting or had contact with Africa through for a business purpose. So one of the frequent visitors of the North Africa was Amr ibn al-As. Some of the articles of trade during this time was included gold, salt, and sword. So through trading, Muslims came along with traders and introduced to them Islam in Africa. Muslim came through trading purpose to introduce Islam to them in Africa. So when we're talking of Africa, of North Africa, we are talking about Egypt. During the Caliph of Umar ibn Khattab, Islam was firmly established in Egypt. In 639 AC, Amr ibn al-As, one of the Muslim military leaders, asked for permission from the Caliph Umar to carry the war against the Byzantines to Egypt. Amr already knew Egypt as he had before Islam been a trader, conducting most of his business in that country. The capture of Alexandria, which was then Egypt's capital and the base of the Byzantine navy, would be an important step in the war against the Byzantines, but there was a large Byzantine garrison to defend it. So as I said earlier, during the period of Umar ibn al-Khattab, that was when Amr ibn al-As took permission from Caliph Umar ibn al-Khattab to expand Islam to Egypt. So he appointed governor for Egypt. The Egyptians found Islam to be a very easy religion to embrace, and they embraced Islam as a religion. So Islam spread later to other parts of North Africa, in particularly Maghreb and Andalusia. These places today were known as part of Morocco and Tunisia. So this includes Alexandria in Libya, in Egypt. Then we have Libya, Algeria, Tunisia, and modern Morocco. All these places are still in existence in Africa. These are the places you can find Arabs in Africa that are Muslims. So Islam was well received in North Africa due to the simplicity of Islamic practices, simplicity of way of life practiced by the Muslims, and the convincing message of Islam which appealed to non-Muslims. From North Africa, Islam also spread to West Africa. Islam is a missionary religion which spread as a result of the missionary work of traders. Traders who introduced it to people. They came into contact with teachers who went along trade routes to spread Islam and teach people about it. So through trading, that was how Islam got contacted with major part of African land, such as North Africa and as well as West Africa. So we have teachers among the traders who were always together with them. We have also the Sufi orders whose adherents also follows trade routes, also established Zawiya, that is Sufi enclosure for propagation of Islam. Also, we have the Muslim conquerors like Uqba ibn Nafi' and Abdullah ibn Yasin. All these are Muslim warriors who waged jihad to propagate Islam. Then also we have Dawah work, that Islamic propagation is also a religious duty for every Muslim. Therefore, the spread of Islam is in Maghreb and Andalusia. Encourage Muslim caravans to traders, Muslim caravans, traders and scholars to travel to West Africa. The spread of Islam in North Africa, Maghreb and Andalusia facilitated the spread of Islam to West Africa by encouraging traders to spread Islam to their contacts during their trading activities. New trade routes between North and West Africa were opened, and traders followed these routes to trade and spread Islam. The success of Islam in North Africa, Maghreb, and Andalusia encouraged Muslim traders to spread Islam in West Africa. So through this, if you later get your textbook, full explanation is in your textbook. You can go through it. The story of Islam in Egypt, the story of Islam in how the early contact of Islam in West Africa, and as well as the story of Islam to the rest of North Africa. All this is found in your textbook. The map you can see here also is another map representing how Islam spread all over the world, particularly from Arab land in 637, in 641, in Alexandria, another part of the world. So before we go, please. Raima Salahuddin. Raima Salahuddin.
Sir?
Yeah, you raise your hand. Do you have a question?
Are we meant
You said what? Come again. I didn't hear you.
It's a big.
Halima, do you have a question?
Sir? No, sir.
Maria Mololade, do you have a question?
No, sir.
Okay, let me ask a question now. What are the items of trade that is common among the traders?
Sir, your email for the assignment.
Okay, I will send my email.
Sir, your email for the assignment.
Okay, I will text it now.
Okay, sir.
All right. Have you all seen the assignment?
No.
The assignment is on the screen. Okay? The assignment is on the screen.
Sir, I can't see anything.
You cannot see the assignments. The assignment is, where is Abyssinia? What did Jafar ibn Abi Talib tell the Negus about Islam in Mecca? That is the assignment. Where is Abyssinia? And what did Jafar ibn Abi Talib tell the Negus about Islam in Mecca? So that is the assignments. If you chat that, you can text him. Yeah, so this is my email address. Hello, Raima. Raima. Yeah. No, I've not. Okay, it has been posted by Mr. Kabir, I think. Yes. Yeah.